3 questions to ask if you're not giving up on that toxic person. Let's talk about it. Roll it. Welcome back to another video where we've been exploring this whole idea of giving up and quitting, how they're similar yet different. I will link that series below on quitting so that you can see the whole idea behind quitting and how that works, and how giving up is this little bit of different on an emotional side, yet similar in the process of trying to figure out what's best. We touched up on giving up with family and friends, and of course our significant others, our partners. In this video we're focusing on that toxic person because they're everywhere. They could be that family member, they could be that friend, and they could be that relationship we're in, and of course that colleague. The idea is very simple here. What does toxicity mean to you, and how does it shape up to you being in a state of happy versus being in a state of sad? Because our life has to be filled with people that are there for us, supporting us, pushing us, and helping us grow to what we need to grow into. And as we pursue that, we need to be doing the same thing to others who are in our lives. This is how relationships should work. There has to be growth. And with toxicity in the relationship, well, growth starts to disappear out of the equation. And instead of focusing on that growth, we're focusing on putting out that fire to maintain a status quo. Fear, you see, takes over. And when fear takes over, well, everything we're thinking that's logical starts to become not logical, turned into an emotional state of more perplexed fear. And as that fear grows, well, logic goes straight out the window 100%, and then we are dealing with pure toxicity, trying to fix a situation, trying to hold on to that little thing called hope, and eventually that giving up feeling that has started will come to pass, whether we destroy ourselves in the process, health-wise, financially, you name it, or the toxic person goes, hey, you're too toxic, I gotta bounce. I think many people have been there. And if you haven't been there, you may not understand this until you do go through this process. So think about it if you're watching this video trying to understand this, because unless you go through this whole transaction with a toxic person that's, you know, really extreme, including the narcissistic cluster types, you won't fully grasp why people will go through that. It's something that you need to experience to really comprehend. Now, what ends up happening when a toxic relationship is forming? Well, at the beginning, it's all lovey-dovey, honeymoon stage. We see some signs, but you know, we got our rose-colored glasses on, as they say, and everything's great. But then as time goes on, a toxic person starts to maintain very little of who they presented themselves to you to be, and they start becoming who they really are. You can only put on a face, a mask, for a certain amount of time, and usually it's after the 60 to 90 days to 120 days. Now, it doesn't mean you're gonna see the full throttle of, you know, what they have to offer. You're just gonna see Timbits, and they're gonna start growing into bigger Timbits, into donuts, into, you know, the epic of donuts. And what will happen in this process where you are trying to fix the situation, you are focused on that instead of looking at what you need to be doing to grow and looking to see what they need to be doing to grow so you guys can work together on it. Well, fear turns its high gear on, and it's just like a switch that happens at some point, and it usually happens when the toxicity has really jumped into the relationship, and especially if they're the narcissistic type where they want to push the family away, push the friends away, push everybody out of your life. Well, now you don't have anybody to turn to, and the reality is that even if people were telling you, hey, this isn't a good person for you, well, you were like, hey, no, I love this person, and now you're stuck in between that love place, that helping place, and that fear, what happens if they leave, what am I going to do after place. There's a couple more places in there, but those are the common ones. So the 3 questions we need to be asking so we can understand why we are still in this place and why we haven't taken advantage of the opportunity to give up are as follows. 1, we need to ask, why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Have you tracked exactly what has been happening as of late? I don't expect anybody to ever go back to the beginning stage and see the negative signs. I don't. We're in a place of love at that moment. We're a place of emotional abundance, greatness, and we don't really see the signs. So we never want to go back there. What we need to do is really just focus in the last, few weeks, months, what has been happening. Have the emotions been coming in based on one-off event every so often that's really hitting you hard on your ethics, on your morals, on your integrity? Or is it something that's been happening every single day? Is it something where you've been trying to fix every single day and you keep failing at it? Is it something where you're feeling this fear of, oh my, what am I doing with my life and what am I doing with this person, and what's next? Is this how I'm going to be, and how do I move forward if I do break up? What emotions are you experiencing in all of it? Number 2, well, it comes back to expectations. Yours, firstly, what are your expectations on what's happening? What were they? How have they changed? And what is the reality of what expectations you should have? Then we look at the other person's expectations. And I guarantee you, if you have a conversation with that person, you will not have a straight answer. It will be all over the place, and in fact, it will be a series of either lies, because they do lie, or B, truths. Yes, I will change, but the reality is I can't. And they can't, but they're gonna give it a try. So question number 3 is, what's best for you? What do you need to be doing right now? And what's stopping you from doing what's best for you? See, if we start writing all this stuff down, and we don't need to journalize it, but we just need to write it. We need to write it so we can read it when our mind is going through an emotional up and down. Writing it down will bring us back to a place of center. It will bring us back to a place where we are structured in a mental state of normalness, not negative and not positive, but just normal, just status quo, just relaxed. And what it will do is really bring to light more memories of stuff that led up to those situations from question 1, and then the emotions that carry through from question 1. And then we'll look at number 2, where there's expectations. What's the reality that we're faced with versus what we had hoped for and what we're still hoping for. The void that occurs in this whole path is fear that's being caused. And the fear is stopping you from thinking, what is best for me? Doing this allows you to come back to it and come to a place of calm, because you're not thinking about a narrative that doesn't exist. You're reading the narrative that's real. And you will be adding to this over a series of time. In fact, when I talk to people who are recovering from narcissists and they're going through the process of breaking up with narcissists, in those 2 situations, the narrative is insanely different from the reality. And when they do start writing everything down, which, I've talked to so many people where they've seen counselors and the counselors don't tell them to write things down, I highly encourage it, because you actually see the stories changing and you can see your mind actually manipulated based on emotions, and you can start seeing more clear what is going on, so that you can bring up that confidence you need to finally get rid of either the thoughts or the person altogether. To expand on question number 3, which is, what's best for me, we need to really look at it from perspective of where we at right now and what do we really want in life. And we really need to look at the situation face value. We have to ask ourselves, when I want to see what's best for me, is this person involved in it? Are they involved in the story? Will they be able to help me on my journey? Have they helped me so far? How long am I willing to wait? Do I need to put a timeline in this? Do I need to put a timeline with new real expectations that we learned from question number 2? If I do this, will I be accountable on it? Because I need to do what's best for me. And if I'm not sure if this person should be in there because of my fear, and I can't conquer this fear in the process of really seeing what's going on, well, now I'm going to implement this slight plan, which leads us to the series we have about quitting and how to do it in a successful way. Whether we think it's good or bad for us, we just know the direction is that I need to achieve that, and this person can stay or go, but how much are they going to impede me in doing what I need to do? If happiness is your goal and you have somebody who's toxic, especially if they're a narcissist, and you're trying to figure that out, like if you're researching stuff and you see the person you're with is a narcissist and you're researching it on that, now, we can't really diagnose 100%, unless we're psychologists. But like, if we know and we start searching stuff and we start seeing characteristics of it, we automatically know that the person is at least toxic. We know they're not good for us. We know that they've done certain things that we would not normally allow anybody else to do, yet our emotions have gotten in the way. Love got in the way first, and then it opened up this whole idea of the doormat syndrome, and you became a doormat, and now you are here where you're trying to help the person change back to who they were, and B, you're trying to make your life better. C would be conquering that fear of being alone. And it's incredibly challenging when you're going through this. I know, I've been there, it's hard. And I think anybody who's been there knows it's hard. And those people that end up not pursuing the giving up and not pursuing moving forward with their lives due to fear, well, they end up suffering through how much time before they finally get up and get going. And at that point, if the person's really narcissistic and all that, will either have destroyed you or they end up leaving. And if they're toxic, they might change and they might get help and they might get better, or they're going to walk away too because they need to be validated for the toxicity. And you working on yourself is the first step. And this is what we're doing with these 3 questions. We're working on ourselves. Because no matter what area of life you are dealing with a person who is toxic, whether it's family, friends, relationships, or colleagues at work, once they see that you are working on yourself, once they see that you are building up to be a better person for you, they will try to engage in that to not allow you to proceed. And then they will want to make an effort and or give up. Because at the end of the day, they can't be happy in the situation they're in. They could be happy if they change the situation, but they don't want to. It's easier to be in that situation than work to change. And this is why you're probably watching this video, or else you wouldn't be watching this video. You want to change. You want to find happiness. You want to move in that right direction. Take some time and ask yourself these 3 questions. This is the beginning. This is not over by asking these 3 questions. This is just the beginning. This is a hard process, especially if you were in a relationship with somebody you deeply fell in love with, somebody you just gave everything to. And it is incredibly challenging. Even the aftermath, after breaking up, after leaving, that's even harder. Because your mind travels 1,000,000 miles an hour into these new narratives that don't or didn't exist. writing everything down, working on this process will get you moving. I encourage you to look through all the content that exists on YouTube, courses that are online, books that are out there, and look at the picture of what is out there so that you can learn the best way, the best strategy for you. Because not all people are the same. And I encourage anybody who's gone through this, or anybody who's going through this, to leave their comment below, your story, what has been happening, what has worked, what hasn't, what would you do different if you've gone through this whole thing? How would that look? Because somebody might be going through the same situation, they might read your comment, and you might help change.
Snow here.